Hello everyone, and thank you for being here today. I'm excited to introduce our presentation on optimizing Azure licensing and cost management in 2025. We'll explore strategies to overcome hidden fees, resource challenges, and governance issues to help you manage your cloud spending more effectively. Over the next few minutes, we'll cover key insights and practical tips to ensure you're making the most of your Azure investments. Let's get started. Let's take a closer look at some of the key challenges we face with Azure licensing and cost management in 2025. First, the lack of clear cost visibility is a major issue. When we can't see exactly where our money is going, it's really hard to track and control our spending effectively. This highlights the need for better governance to keep costs in check. Next, poor resource management can lead us to pay for services that we're not actually using or that are underutilized. Over time, these inefficiencies drive up our cloud expenses unnecessarily. And then there's the complexity of Azure's pricing models. Hidden fees are embedded within these models, making it difficult to predict costs accurately. These hidden charges can lead to unexpected expenses, which complicates budgeting and financial planning. Overall, understanding these challenges, lack of visibility, resource management issues, and hidden fees, is crucial as we aim to optimize our Azure costs and ensure better financial governance moving forward. Let's take a closer look at some common causes of extra Azure costs that we need to be aware of. First, inefficient resource sizing can be a major issue. When resources are overprovisioned, we end up paying for more than we actually need, which wastes money. It's crucial to size resources appropriately to match workload demands. Next, inadequate tagging practices can make it difficult to track and allocate costs properly. Without good tagging, identifying which departments or projects are responsible for certain expenses becomes a challenge, leading to less effective cost management. Another factor is retaining unused or orphaned resources. These are resources that are no longer in use but still incur charges, quietly draining our budget. Regular audits and cleanups are essential to prevent this. Finally, selecting incorrect license types can also cause unnecessary costs. Choosing a license that doesn't align with the workload's requirements means we're either overpaying or not getting the right features we need. All these points highlight the importance of strategic planning and management in Azure to optimize costs in 2025 and beyond. Let's take a closer look at some of the primary contributors to unnecessary costs in our Azure environment. Idle virtual machines, unattached disks, and unused IP addresses might seem minor on their own, but collectively, they can add up quickly and significantly inflate our expenses. This highlights the importance of effective resource lifecycle management. Managing resources throughout their entire lifecycle, from deployment to decommissioning, is essential for keeping costs under control. One of the most impactful strategies is proactively identifying and removing resources that are no longer in use. Doing this not only helps reduce licensing costs, but also improves overall efficiency. In fact, real-world examples have shown that regular cleanup and resource management can lead to substantial monthly savings. It's a proven approach that delivers tangible financial benefits. We also need to be aware that forgotten or unused resources, like virtual machines left running or disks that are no longer needed, can silently inflate our costs. These forgotten assets continue to accrue charges, sometimes without us realizing it. So, managing these unmanaged Azure resources effectively is crucial. It's about being vigilant and regularly auditing our environment to prevent unnecessary expenses. As we move toward 2025, optimizing Azure licensing and cost management becomes even more critical. By implementing proactive lifecycle management, we can ensure we're not only controlling costs, but also maximizing the value of our Azure investments. Let's dive into the foundational principles of Azure governance, specifically focusing on optimizing licensing and cost management in 2025. These principles are really about creating accountability within your organization and establishing a systematic approach to enforce cost-saving measures. One key area is implementing systematic cost-saving measures. This means enhancing your cost visibility by leveraging monitoring and reporting tools. When you have clear insights into your spending, you can identify areas to optimize and reduce unnecessary expenses. Another important principle is role assignment and permissions. It's crucial to assign the right roles and responsibilities to the right people, ensuring proper access control and permission management. This way, your team members can manage resources efficiently without risking security or compliance issues. Finally, defining clear policies is essential. These policies should regulate resource usage and ensure compliance across your organization. When policies are well-defined, everyone understands the boundaries and expectations, which helps in maintaining governance and controlling costs effectively. Connecting all these points, the overall goal is to build a governance framework that not only controls costs, but also promotes accountability and efficiency across your Azure environment. Establishing a Cloud Center of Excellence, or CCOE, is a critical step in optimizing our Azure licensing and cost management efforts for 2025. This team serves as a centralized body, bringing together best practices, training, and governance oversight. Think of it as the hub that ensures everyone in the organization is aligned on cost control strategies. By doing so, we can make sure that these strategies are applied consistently across all departments and projects. The CCOE drives continuous optimization of our cloud costs and resource utilization, constantly looking for ways to improve efficiency. It also develops and enforces cloud policies and standards that guide how we manage our Azure environment. Overall, the role of the CCOE in Azure cost governance is vital. They help us stay on top of our spending, ensure compliance, and maximize the value of our cloud investments. This central oversight is key to maintaining control and driving strategic cost management as we move forward into 2025. Let's dive into how policy, standards, and resource tagging play a crucial role in controlling costs as we look ahead to 2025. First, these practices are essential because they enhance transparency. When we have clear visibility into our spending, it becomes much easier to identify where we can optimize costs effectively. Next, enabling detailed cost allocation and accountability through tagging is a game changer. By applying specific tags to our resources, like project, department, or environment, we gain the ability to track expenses precisely. This not only helps us understand spending patterns, but also makes responsible management more straightforward. Resource tagging, in particular, allows us to categorize and monitor assets systematically. Whether it's a development environment, a production system, or a particular project, tags help us organize and analyze usage across the organization. Finally, establishing clear policies and standard configurations is fundamental. These guidelines ensure that everyone deploys resources consistently and in line with best practices. When policies are well-defined, it reduces the risk of unnecessary or inefficient resource usage, ultimately supporting our cost management goals. Together, these elements, transparency, detailed allocation, resource categorization, and standardization, form a comprehensive approach to optimize our Azure licensing and costs in the coming years. Now, let's look at how RBAC helps us control access and billing, especially as we plan for 2025. RBAC, or role-based access control, is a powerful way to reduce the risk of cost overruns by ensuring that governance policies are enforced and that access is tightly controlled. This means we can prevent unauthorized spending and keep our expenses in check. One key point is that RBAC controls billing scopes. By defining who can see or modify certain billing information, we limit our financial exposure and make sure that only the right people are managing costs. This helps us enforce governance policies effectively, ensuring everyone knows their responsibilities. Another important aspect is controlling permissions for deployment and scaling. RBAC ensures only authorized personnel can deploy new resources or scale existing ones. This tight control helps prevent accidental or unauthorized changes that could lead to unexpected costs. Finally, RBAC restricts resource creation and modification based on user roles. This means that only users with the appropriate permissions can create or change resources, which is essential for preventing unauthorized spending. When we think about overall cost management, especially in 2025, implementing RBAC is a critical step toward maintaining financial discipline and operational governance. Now, let's look at how these approaches can significantly lower our virtual machine and database licensing expenses. By applying these strategies, we can make a real impact on our overall costs. One key method is leveraging Azure savings plans, which offer discounted rates on compute usage in exchange for a commitment over a certain period. This helps us predict and control our costs more effectively. Another powerful tool is the Azure Hybrid benefit. If we already have on-premises licenses, we can apply those licenses to Azure VMs and databases, maximizing the value of our existing investments. Together, these approaches not only reduce expenses, but also support smarter, more flexible cloud management. They are essential pieces of our overall strategy to optimize Azure licensing and costs in 2025. Now, let's look at how we can optimize Azure costs effectively. One of the key tools we have is Azure Cost Management and Advisor. These tools help us monitor our spending in real time, so we can spot any unusual or unnecessary expenses. They also allow us to set budgets, ensuring we stay within our financial targets. Plus, they provide us with tailored recommendations to optimize our resources and reduce costs without sacrificing performance. Another important aspect is implementing autoscaling. By allowing our resources to scale dynamically based on actual demand, we avoid overprovisioning, paying for more than we need, and underprovisioning, which can hurt performance. Autoscaling helps us maintain the right balance, making sure we're only using what's necessary at any given time. Lastly, right-sizing virtual machines is crucial. This means adjusting the size and capacity of our VMs to match our workload requirements precisely. Oversized VMs lead to wasted resources and higher costs, while undersized ones can cause performance issues. By right-sizing, we ensure our virtual machines are just right, optimized for both performance and cost efficiency. All of these strategies, using management tools, auto-scaling, and right-sizing, come together to help us control and reduce our Azure expenses, supporting our overall goal of smart, cost-effective cloud management. Looking ahead, it's crucial to start thinking about our Azure licensing needs not just for today, but for 2025 and beyond. This is about planning strategically to ensure that our deployments remain cost-effective over time. By taking a proactive approach, we can avoid surprises and optimize our investment in Azure. One of the key steps is to align our procurement and governance strategies with our anticipated needs. This means understanding what our growth looks like and making sure our licensing aligns with those projections. It's about being deliberate and forward-thinking so that our licensing choices support our long-term goals. Next, we need to forecast our future license requirements. This involves analyzing our growth patterns and workload trends to estimate what our licensing needs will be down the line. By doing this, we can purchase what we need in advance and avoid unnecessary expenses or shortages. Finally, it's essential to stay on top of Microsoft's pricing updates and licensing changes. Microsoft regularly updates their prices and licensing terms, so continuous monitoring helps us adapt quickly. This way, we can leverage any new offerings or discounts and ensure our licensing strategy remains optimal. Overall, this forward-looking approach is about being proactive, strategic, and informed, making sure our Azure deployments are not just effective now, but sustainable and cost-efficient in the future.